Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. It's time for yet another edition of This Week in Master Duel, the series in which we cover all the happenings within, well, the last week of Master Duel. We do actually have quite a bit to talk about this week. We're going to start here in client talking about the latest selection pack that's about to come out in a couple of days, or I guess tomorrow at the time this video is being posted. We're going to talk a little bit about the Duel Cup that's been announced. We're going to talk about the untapped ranked ladder statistics. And then after that, we've got some leaks and then tournament results to look at. So a lot on our plate today. We're going to start, like I said, with in-game notifications. The last one since our last This Week in Master Duel was going to be this one here, the new selection pack. So a lot of the stuff that we talked about in leaks already, mainly the Red/Resonators and Earthbound Immortals, are confirmed now to be in the next selection pack, alongside Ticina, as well as a couple of at least somewhat notable kind of staple-ish cards, such as Tokusano Shikiyojin, which is basically trade-in for level 10s. We can also send the monster from the field, as well as Transaction Rolled-Back, a trap card that is anticipated to do a lot of stuff in Labyrinth, as well as just in general, being able to kind of cheat out and copy trap cards' effects, right? So as far as this pack goes, though, I gotta be just completely brutally honest with my opinion on it. I don't think I've ever seen a more skippable selection pack in Master Duel. And yeah, as you all know, I've been playing since the beginning, and I mean that. I think this is probably the most skippable pack ever. I don't even know, like, I guess we'll see what's in the rest of the pack, but, like, I gotta level with you. I have, like, no plans to actually buy anything from this pack. I really don't. I am definitely more thinking about just either saving my gems for the next selection pack, which does have a pretty promising leak that, again, we'll talk about here in a little bit, but also just for maybe some secret packs for an archetype I've been thinking about playing for a while, but haven't gotten around to yet. I don't know, I just, like, again, there are a couple of noteworthy things over here, but as far as, like, the three prominent archetypes go, right? Every selection pack kind of has like three major archetypes that are getting new support. For this one, it's Red Dragon/Resonators, Earthbounds, and then Ticina. I don't know. It's like, if you really want to play Red Dragon/Resonator pure, that might end up being a lower rogue deck. I think other decks making use of these archetypal cards as an engine, but not as like a dedicated strategy, are going to see more success than this deck, like, operating quote-unquote pure. I think in either case, the amount of play I would expect to see Red Dragon/Resonator cards is, again, like, lower rogue. Earthbound is, like, if you play a dedicated Earthbound deck, it's like, the archetype isn't bad by any means, it just doesn't really do that much. Maybe in some worlds I could see this being like a lower rogue deck. Ticina, I gotta love with you. I've like read the cards, I've seen what other people have to say, and I gotta agree with the majority opinion on this. This deck is a complete joke. It just doesn't do anything. It's like laughable how bad a modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck could be. That's really, really harsh sounding, I know, but it's also very, very true. So what does that mean for this selection pack when, again, among the archetypal cards featured, the archetypes in general, right, the best thing I can say about any of them is that it might see lower play, big maybe. Lower rogue play, big maybe. You know, it's like, again, I think what we end up having is, like, the most skippable pack out there. Because even, like, again, these more stable cards that they're showing off are for, like, they're good cards, but they're also for very specific strategies. Again, this is trade-in for level 10s, which it can also send from the field to the graveyard. That's kind of neat for, like, Eldritch. I guess Trains might want this, but, like, you know, it's like, the thing about Eldritch, too, is that, you know, a lot of the reason Eldritch doesn't see play anymore is, one, not only have stun cards gotten hit a lot, but two, you know, there are better ways to play Stun/Floodgate than Eldritch. So, like, is trade-in really gonna fix that problem for the deck? I don't think it is, honestly. And the issue with playing something like Eldritch Pure is just that it doesn't have enough going for it. And again, adding a trade-in to the deck does not fix that. Transaction Rollback is a bit of a different story. This card actually does do a lot with the ability to copy trap cards. But again, that's a pretty specific style of deck that really wants to be copying the effects of normal trap cards in the graveyard. So, like, Lab will probably want to pick this up, but outside of Lab, I really don't outside of Lab playing transaction rollback, I don't anticipate anything they're talking about here having any amount of impact on the metagame as a whole. Which, you know, they do tend to be like, you know, very prominent pack, then an underwhelming pack, then a prominent pack, then an underwhelming pack, right? And I say underwhelming, but this is very, very underwhelming. Like, it's just beyond nothing. It's beyond nothing, this pack. It really is. Again, from what they've shown, at the time I'm recording this, and I believe also the time this is going out, we have yet to see the actual full card list, but I don't know. If I would be glad to be proven wrong. I'd love a reason to spend gems on this pack, but I don't anticipate that I'm going to get that. Next up, we have a notice for the next Duelist Cup. Woo. I can't even pretend, honestly. I actually despise the Duelist Cup. Not because it's an event that has like basically the same kind of format as Ranked Ladder. That I actually don't have an issue with. I'm totally cool with there being more competitive events. The issue I have with Duelist Cup, and I brought this up the last couple of Duelist Cups we had too. It's not okay to like only give out Worlds invites to people who are willing to play for like a full 72 hours at a time. You just exclude far too many people doing that. Not only people who like can't do that because, you know, there is a real world out there that has obligations and it wants to check in with you, you know, probably within 72 hours, you know, your responsibilities out there, that is. But on top of that, it's not healthy to play a game for 72 hours straight, even if you are taking like breaks in between to like rest a little bit. The people who are out there actually qualifying for Worlds are like, it's scary how much you're having to play to do so. It's genuinely like, when I say scary, the reason I say that is because there are other games like, was it Grand Blue? It was some fighting game. There have been other games that have had similar kind of processes for qualifying for tournaments, and they have had to stop doing that because players have gone to the hospital. As it like people who like qualify for these things have like gone to the hospital doing so because they neglect their own health for an opportunity to play at Worlds. And that's just the cases we hear about, right? Like, I don't think it's right to encourage players to do that by this, like, very frankly predatory kind of thing. It's predatory because it totally takes advantage of people's willingness to do that. Like, God, I really wish that we as the Yu-Gi-Oh community could just stand up and collectively tell Konami, like, this isn't okay, and just in masse not participate in the Duelist Cup. Of course, it's not even remotely feasible, but, you know, the people who are even out here qualifying, the people I've talked to who are out here, like, grinding these weekends trying to qualify for it, they don't like doing it. They talk about at the end about how tired and miserable they are and how they don't even want to look at a Yu-Gi-Oh card for, like, weeks afterward, and... You know, especially for someone like me who's a daily content creator for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, me staying invested in this game is important. Like, obviously, if I'm making a YouTube video for this game every day, I want to still enjoy the game. Plus, I want to still be able to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I like it, you know? So when I think about trying to, not even just doing this, but trying to, and not have any IRL obligations for 72 hours. When I think about sitting down and playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 72 hours, when I think about doing that just to barely miss out on qualifying for Worlds because they only give out one invite per Duelist Cup, you know, I think about all these factors, I'm like, yeah, no, even for someone like me who's prominently into the game, and has, you know, a decent shot of actually qualifying, there's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I've had people say before, like, oh, but think about the streaming opportunities. And it's like, no, it could be a lucrative opportunity, but I value my own happiness, and mental health and enjoyment of the game higher than that. So I'm willing to say that, and I'm also willing to say that, like, yeah, Konami's Duelist Cup, this method is, like, beyond atrocious for actually qualifying for the World Championships there. Okay, so let's go ahead and swap on over to, where is it? Here we go, Untapped. Let's see here. Yeah, someone had a suggestion recently to look at Diamond and Master as opposed to Plat through Master when assessing the meta ranked ladder, or the ranked ladder meta rather, for the Untapped results. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of inclined to agree. Like, I don't know, I feel kind of bad saying this because I know there are players out there who kind of like struggle in Platinum, but I don't think you're gonna get as many quality competitive games in Plat. Like, the difference between Plat and Diamond, it really is like worlds apart. The main reason for that too, I think, is that I might be wrong about this. This might only apply up to gold rank, but I think it applies for Platinum as well, if I recall correctly. But if you lose games in Platinum, I don't think you actually, like, rank down at all. Like, as in, you know, let's say you're at Plat 4, and you have, like, 3 games to win until you rank up, and then you lose a duel. I'm pretty sure it still says 3 games until your next win, right? So that kind of means that you can rank up within... again, that might not be true for Plat. It's been a hot minute since I've been in Platinum, personally. That I promise that wasn't a flex. Even though it very, very much sounded like one. But I think that's true of Platinum. I know it's true of Gold. And I think it is true of Platinum nowadays, too. So that makes sense, right? Because if you don't have any penalty for losing, then that means that you're able to rank up with an under 50% win rate. Which means that you kind of end up, like, you might have, you know, seen, let me actually go down to Plat for a second here. You might have actually seen, like, decks like this in the past and be like, how could people, like, rank up with decks like Blackwing and Blue Eyes, you know, if they're only, like 40, like, well below a 50% win rate, right? That's, again, if I'm recalling correctly, that's because you can actually rank up without having to have an above 50% win rate. But, of course, once you get up to Diamond and Master, then... if you're at Diamond 4 and you have 3 games to rank up before your next rank and then you lose a game, then it goes down to 4, right? There is actually punishment for losing. So, I understand the merit in that regard, and I actually kind of agree too. So, looking at Diamond and Master here for the Untapped meta tier list results here, I think one of the big things that we can notice, especially up here at the top, is that Snake Eyes have actually closed the gap between themselves and Vanquish Soul when it comes to win rate. The last couple of, you know, This Week in Master Duel videos, we noted that Vanquish Soul had a noticeably higher win rate than Snake Eye. And a lot of the reason for that is because, and Vanquish Soul, I guess, being the top deck of the meta, the idea being that it can play well through Disruption and hand traps, especially stuff like Max C. It also has the ability to utilize Dimension Shifter. All these factors are also true of Kashira, the other card here among the top 3 decks based on win rate in Diamond and Master. But again, that gap has now closed. Like, Snake Eye is at 55.9%, Vanquish Soul is at 56.2%. These numbers for these ranks even last week were closer to 60 for Vanquish Soul and closer to 55 for Snake Eyes. So, what happened? Is it that Snake Eyes suddenly, you know, got this like resurgence, or that Vanquish Soul players suddenly started just losing en masse? I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I think really the best explanation for what happened here is that Snake Eyes players are just getting better with the deck. Because one thing you got to remember, especially about, you know, pure Snake Eye, and Poplar in particular, we got Poplar in both Master Duel and TCG at pretty much the same time. So, and, you know, again, if we're looking at stats from Untapped, we can guess that these are almost entirely, if not entirely, TCG side players that are contributing these stats. So, if we keep that in mind, then it makes sense, right? If TCG and Master Duel players are kind of learning pure Snake Eye with Poplar at the same time, then it makes sense that we would see this gap get closed after a couple of weeks and not straight away. Because, you know, a lot of the time, of course, TCG players, the cards come out in paper before they come out on Master Duel. So, players who play in paper will have the experience of knowing generally how a deck plays or what it wants to do and its choke points and all that fun stuff. But again, we didn't get that with Snake Eye because Poplar came out at the same time in both formats. So, I think now here at the end of this format, as the next selection pack is about to come out here soon, we're starting to see, again, the Snake Eyes players kind of quote-unquote catch up because they're learning the deck and are able to take those Ws more consistently there. Looking at the rest of the meta, I think for the most part, just about everything else is where you would expect to see it. Like Mathmech, Super Heavy Samurai, Branded Despia, all trailing behind these top 3 decks, and all having pretty much the same win rate of 54%, right? And then Monadium, Dino Warfia behind them, make sure you're Runic. Access started taking a huge drop. This deck was higher up, although to be fair, we were also looking at Platinum back then as well. Lab might be a lot lower than a lot of people might expect to see it. You might expect to see Lab more like up here, right, with these decks, but I think the reason that Lab tends to be lower is that it's just a more difficult deck to play. I'm honestly surprised to see Stun as high as it is with an above 50% win rate. Especially above Tier Lament. Like, I would definitely consider Tier to be the better deck than Stun. But to be fair, while win rate is definitely worth looking at, it's not always going to be the sole factor as to, you know, where a deck gets placed on the tier list there. Actually, I'm curious. It's just if we bump this up to only Master, what does it look like? Wow, literally 0.1% difference at that point. Pretty much the same numbers, just like, you know, with some minor differences in between, so... I think moving forward, we'll probably just only look at Diamond and Master when it comes to looking at the competitive stats for Master Duel Ranked Ladder there. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about here are some leaks. We got some unconfirmed leaks from Master Duel Meta for Unchained. This is not for the pack that's coming out tomorrow. I think at the time this video is going out. Yeah, this is not for tomorrow's pack, by the way. This is a leak for next month's pack, April's selection pack. It's going to have Unchained, a deck that has been highly anticipated by TCG players, especially. Mostly for this card here, Unchained Soul of Shavara. You can see this card is actually limited in the TCG, so we can expect it to do a lot of things for the Unchained strategy. Let's take a look at what it all does. Unchained Soul of Shavara is a fire level 6 fiend with 2000 attack and 1500 defense that says, during the main phase, if this card is in your hand, quick effect, you can target one fiend monster or one face down card you control. Destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. But, while it is face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters except fiend monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you'll notice I added the words from the me trying to balance this card in my head. If this card is sent to the graveyard, period, you can set one Unchained spell/trap card directly from your deck. You can use each effective Unchained Soul of Shavara once per turn. So, wow. This is phenomenal. This literally does everything Unchained wants to do. It destroys fiends, which Unchained monsters are. It destroys face-down cards, which Unchained really wants to blow up their own spell and trap cards some of the time. And not only that, but if this card is sent to the graveyard, period, in any way, it could go there from the deck, the hand, from the field. It could be destroyed. It could be sent. It can be used as a material for any reason. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can set one Unchained spell trap card directly from your deck. That's such a fail on the design part of this card, honestly. It really should have said if this card is destroyed, because that would definitely, you know, have to do with what Unchained cares about. But, nah, they wanted to push the card and make it good, so they just said send to the graveyard instead. So, it's definitely pretty easy to see. Like, I gotta tell you, Unchained was already not a bad deck, like, in the slightest. And this will definitely be a very nice boost for them. Let's see here. For the other cards, we'll take a look at them, but they're not going to be nearly as impactful. Unchained Soul of Shyama is a water level 6 fiend, also 2000 attack, 1500 defense. Let's see, it says you can target one card you control, destroy it, then destroy one spell or trap card on the field. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target a fiend monster or face down card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. So, yeah. Again, this one is, I mean, it's nice to be able to recur it from the graveyard, and spell trap destruction is never bad, but in terms of just sheer power compared to Shavara, you can definitely see that one of these cards is a little bit better than the other. Alright, we also have a Link to Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. Is a dark Link to Fiend with 2000 attack. Material requirements are 2 Fiend monsters. If this card is special summoned, you can add one Unchained monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If a card you control is destroyed by battle or card effects while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card. Special summon one Fiend monster from your hand or graveyard, then you can destroy one card you control. You can only use each effect of Unchained Soul Lord of Yama once per turn. I was kind of surprised they didn't already have a Link monster that was like this. But this is the kind of like broken Link to Yeah, you can turn any 2 fiend monsters into this, getting to add the Unchained. Also, that includes Tour Guide and whatever it summons, by the way. I think, isn't Tour Guide supposed to be good in this deck? Probably because it helps make this card. That would make a lot of sense. Very glad I kept my playset from playing Phantom Knights back in the day, before Adventure came out. But, yeah. Being able to add an Unchained monster from the deck to the graveyard is obviously insane. That's also when this card is special summoned, not linked summon. Special summoned. So you can link summon this, add, pop it, and then bring it back with something later, and then you'll get the search again. That's insane. I don't know if that comes up a lot, but that's just conceptually, that's pretty wild. Excuse me. And then, yeah, being able to special summon fiends from the hand or graveyard, and then also pop a card. Those are definitely 2 things that Unchained cares a lot about doing. So, yeah, I would definitely... Shavara, you're 100% gonna see. Like, this card is gonna see play. And I'm pretty sure the Link 2 does as well. The Water Monster, I don't know a lot about this deck, like, in depth. So I don't know if they actually play, like, this as a one-of or something. But, I need to do more research before I can tell you whether or not I think this will be, like, a new big tiered threat. I will say, with Snake Eyes being out now, it doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to pack the same punch that it might have if this has come out, like, before Snake Eyes did. But it's still going to be a good deck. There's no question about that. Unlike the selection pack we're about to have, this one with Unchained will definitely have some major impact on the meta upon release. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some tournament results now. I feel like there was something else. Oh, I remember what it was, and actually we can go ahead and try to take a look at this here too. It was, here we go. In-game usage / win rate report. That did actually get updated as well, so whenever the site wants to load, here we go. I just cleared my cache too, and it's already loading slowly again. But anyway, not trying to throw any shade on Master Duel meta for that. It's like, you know, that's an issue a lot of websites have. Anyway. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, is there even much merit to it? Like, I mean, yeah, the usage and win rates have changed, but it's all for, like, pretty predictable reasons. It's because Snake Eye came out. One, you know, haha, lol, Max C seeing less play, but, you know, or I guess more play, whatever. These 2 numbers don't matter. Like, these are always going to be around the same figures. So, like, I'm not concerned about these. Called By and Crossout and Imperm and Nibiru all seeing more play. Yeah, because of Snake Eye. I think particularly Called By and Crossout seeing more play is because less Super Heavy Samurai is being played over time. Would probably be particularly Called By the main contributor to that statistic bumping up. But I guess to be fair, there's also quite a few off-meta decks that don't play Called By. It's so easy to think like, oh, you know, every deck has to play Called By because of Max C. But if you really look and think about it, you'll see a lot of decks in the meta right now that don't use Called By or Ash Blossom a lot of the time, such as Lab, such as Branded, such as Kashtira. A lot of these decks, again, might not necessarily play Ash Blossom and or Called By a lot of the time. So it might be weird to see Called By seeing such a dramatic increase in play. But even Super Heavy Samurai aside, I think, again, it's a lot of people moving to Snake Eyes, which definitely does play this card. Whereas they might have been playing something like Branded or Kashtira or Lab that might not have been playing Called By before. Droll seeing a decrease in play. That's pretty predictable. Baron, yep, because of Snake Eye. Zeus, because Snake Eye doesn't play it a lot of the time. It does some of the time. Not a surprise to see Diabell and Wanted here in, you know, the 28th percentile. I don't know. It's like, again, I'm looking at these changes and I'm like, is there much to even really say here? Snake Eye is good. That's why these cards are seeing play, and also why Joel and Zeus are seeing a little bit less play, but not even that much less, because these cards can also be played in Snake Eye, just not the majority of the time. Unlike the last meta, where these were played in, and again, Super Heavy Samurai, the majority of the time. Okay, now let's talk about tournament results. Master Cup number 34 was held on March 2nd, had 81 players. It is a single Elam best of 3 tournament with a side deck. Always important to note that when you're looking at tournament results. Always important to know that, because tournaments that are played with best of 3 and especially with a side deck are going to have a notably different meta than, you know, ranked fighter. It might not seem like that when you see like how many top Snake Eye has, but we've talked about it. I have a whole video talking about this. You can feel free to check that out for a more in-depth explanation. All right, we got Snake Eye taking first place here. It's like a very, very standard list. Another fairly standard looking Snake Eye list taking second place here. This one is on 3 Droplet. Was the last one? No, I didn't think so. Which makes sense. You know, board breaker cards are really, really good in this particular meta, and Droplet is the best board breaker card for a lot of decks, including Snake Eye, particularly ones that have the resources to be able to spend on it. You definitely want to play Droplet over stuff like Dark Ruler No More, because Droplet actually has applications going first, right? But again, if you're playing in a best of 3, that issue becomes a little bit less of an issue. So, pretty standard branded SBA list here, and another pretty standard looking Snake Eye list here. Oh, this one is Kashira Snake Eye, so they are playing the Kashira package of 3 Unicorn, 1 Fenrir, 1 Rate Soft, and 1 Birth. That's not uncommon to see in Snake Eye. It definitely does kind of help play through Disruption a little bit better, because your opponent, like, if you start by specialing Unicorn activating the effect, the opponent is not unlikely to throw out an imperm against it, and then you can just be like, alright, normal summon Snake Eye Ash, and then just like go off and right into your combo line. So ooh, here we have Pen Magician, always managing to find its way into the top cut there. Got a Math Mech list here. This one looks like it is on Microcroder, also playing the Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Very, very good card right now. Ooh, Cash Zoo. Hell yeah. This is one of my favorite ways to play Kashira is with the Zodiacs. So they're also including the Dia Bellstar here as well, without even a level 1 fire. Just going for the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. I mean, you know, it does end up being really good, especially being a level 7. Makes these rank 7s a little bit easier to make down here, which makes sense. Hey, here's Super Heavy Samurai. Not quite gone out of the meta just yet. Alright. Let's take a look at the Decayed Meta Weekly. This is once again going to be single Elim, but or single Elim best of 3, but it will not be with a side deck here. Looks like it was won by Snake Eye with 3 War Arfthou and 3 Chicken Game. Wow, that's definitely the most surprising factor. I can't believe that card is still banned in the TCG. It's kind of wild, honestly. Okay, got some more Snake Eye action here. More Snake Eye here in the top 4. Looks like the top 4 was entirely Snake Eye, but this list in particular does have quite a few tech. They are playing... Interesting, they're playing Unicorn and Birth, no Fenrir and Rate Soth. We're playing DD Crow, which is pretty good in this meta. Ghost Ogre, which I guess I could see. I don't know though, like how does that come up in the mirror match, I wonder? How often does it? Anyway, I wonder how often that comes up in the mirror match in a meaningful way. And then we're playing the Silvara as well, which is becoming a little bit less standard. I've noticed Dramatic Snake Eye Chase has been dropped from lists pretty much en masse as of the last week, which makes sense, but Silvara is still being experimented with. Alright, some more Snake Eyes. Wow, so I will say 9 Snake Eyes topping and 5 of them being in the top 8 is pretty wild, especially for single Elam too. Vanquish Soul, got Vanquish Soul here, fairly standard looking list. Big Cheese, it's a good name. And they're rocking a pretty cool deck in the form of Adagnisher. Got those droplets, very, very good in this meta. Got some more Snake Eye stuff happening here. Lots of triple Nibirus happening. I don't know. From playing in that Synchro X Link event where Maxi was banned but Sword Soul was good, so it was like a 3 Nib format. I'm not a fan of 3 Nib formats. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I would rather get hit with a Maxi every turn than a Nibiru every turn. Games where a Nibiru is being dropped every single turn is just so miserable. Again, much more miserable in my opinion than games where Maxi is being dropped every turn. Cue every comma that's being like, no, no, no! Okay, anyway. Okay, Banana Phone here is making top cut with the Snake Eyes as well. Oh, hey, look, they have the Dramatic Snake Eye Chase. Alright. Oh, is this our first branded list for top cut that's only in top 16? Wow, that's kind of surprising, honestly. Infernobles coming in here, 45 card list, and they are... I gotta learn this line that you don't need the bamboo cards. I feel like I was misled in a way. A lot of the resources I used to make my Infernoble guide talked about how important it was to have the bamboo stuff, and then now the bamboo cards are dropped en masse. So yeah, I definitely need to update that and use other resources there. Alright, we've got more Snake Eyes, this one with 3 droplet. Hey, it's April again. Good branded player. Yeah, pretty standard looking branded list there. And Sword Soul making top cut. Don't let people tell you this deck is bad. Sword Soul is completely fine. Don't let people tell you any deck is bad, by the way. Because, you know, we see Panda Magician topping. We saw Trains, rank 10 Earth Machines topping last week. It's like, so many people are out here telling you what you can and can't top with, but they're not the ones topping tournaments, so don't listen to them. It's just not. It's just don't. All right, we got Cola Cup number 80. Oh, it's untapped at the end there. Cola Cup number 80. This one is going to be best of 1 Swiss, so this one is a little bit more relevant to ranked ladder meta as far as like this tournament meta goes. 62 players here. The side deck doesn't come in until top 16, and then they switch over to best of 3. But even though they do best of 3 for top cut, each of these lists did have to play through single elim Swiss rounds in order to, you know, qualify there. So got Snake Eye, very standard looking list, making the first place there. But, you know, just because it's a standard list doesn't take away from their accomplishment. That's the thing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players try to do. That's a thing Yu-Gi-Oh players are constantly doing, just cutting each other down, and trying to drag each other down, which is one of my main gripes of the community. But another thing another way in which they do that is, you know, a list will get first place in a tournament and it'll be like, oh yeah, it's the best deck of the meta, it's a standard list, how boring. And it's like, if that's all you have to say, then you should just say nothing. Your opinion is literally useless. But yeah, no, we got tier limits topping here, cash tier even. We got a 60 card branded list with Golden Sword Soul. I see Keeper of Dragon Magic, a lot happening there. Branded Sword, Brightest Blazing Branded King. All these cards are not like, you know, the most atypical, but you don't see them all the time either. Hey, look, it's Earth Machine again. Look at this again. This is like the second week in a row. This is exactly... I actually totally forgot that Earth Machine topped again, because I did look at these lists earlier, but, you know, that is exactly what I was just talking about, right? Like, so many people out here have probably been told your Earth Machine deck cannot do well in a tournament. If not directly, then indirectly, by people saying, like, oh, maybe you should take a different deck, or like, oh, this would do fine in a local, but, like, I don't know about more than that, but, like, you've got people out here making top cuts of tournaments with decks like these. Don't ever let people tell you that off meta can't do well. Especially, like, people will, like, say that a lot in a format like this where you're seeing so much Snake Eye, where it's like, oh, it's a tier 0 meta. You can't possibly do with off meta. Don't listen to them. Do not listen to them. They are not the ones topping tournaments. Anybody saying that. I'm sure some people who top tournaments say that, but even the ones who do, don't listen to them. Alright, that's going to go ahead and do it for our tournament results, and that's going to do it for this week in Master Duel. Hope you all enjoyed the video very much. That's about all I got for you. Let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.